for everybody. So we are talking now beyond logistics, how emotional intelligence powers supply chain by Mr. Srinivas Velaga. So this is very interesting that we always talk about technology, we always talk about the complexities, business processes and all, but we miss something which is very important, which is emotional intelligence. Okay, so let me give a quick introduction to Mr. Srinivas. Srinivas, a BITS Pilani graduate, built a successful 17-year career in IT with leading organizations, managing large-scale projects from pre-sales to post-implementation. So in 2017, he founded Nipuna, the dedicate himself to coaching and empowering individuals and teams to achieve their best. So Nipuna is the organization which is helping everybody to achieve to achieve whatever they want through a concept called emotional intelligence. So I really like this title, and I want to know more about this. I got a book also, if I remember, I have it with me, but I never read it, Srinivas. So maybe it's an opportunity for me to learn from you. So thank you, Srinivas, for joining. If you are able to hear us, so please.
Yes. Thank you, Abdul. Thank you for the warm welcome. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We are
So
seeing the screen. You can put up the presentation.
Okay. Yeah. So can you see me now?
Yeah, we are able to see you, but the screen what you have shared is the WebEx screen, not the presentation.
Okay. Yeah, I will share the presentation. I wanted to see the participants here and look at the chat window before I start. So I just minimize the presentation.
There are so many team members in other channels like YouTube and others, which are easy to join for the people other than WebEx. So there you cannot see them now. Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Thank you again, Abdul, for the opportunity. I'm grateful for the opportunity because emotional intelligence is a very important topic and dear to me. I believe it's very useful for everyone. And when you asked me to give a talk on emotional intelligence in a supply chain conference, and when you asked me for a title, I thought the apt title would be Beyond Logistics, How Emotional Intelligence Powers the Supply Chain. I know it's been a long day for everyone, starting from at 10 in the morning, and probably is now good morning, good evening, good afternoon from different locations in the world. And I think emotional intelligence is definitely required to stay longer and to stay back for this session. And I promise I will make it interactive and very exciting and worth your time. Okay. I'd like to ask how many in this group, I mean, about 13 here in the WebEx and probably some more on YouTube. How many wanted to become doctors when they were children? You can put in the chat.
Yeah. So
Somebody wanted to become a doctor. Okay. Somebody wanted to become an engineer.
Yeah, we want to become doctor, but it's not easy, So engineering is something easy.
It's easy. That's why you chose engineering. Okay. I want to ask how many wanted to become supply chain managers?
Oh, supply chain is a new domain, so we know only after graduation. Yeah.
After graduation, so probably not many would have actually planned to become a supply chain manager. Probably it's one of those careers which you just it comes along and you take it. So I don't think it is something that somebody plans as such, but definitely a supply chain manager as a career definitely empowers and powers all the other professions, I would say. So in that way, I think it's also powering the entire world. So I think it's very important, and it's a very respectful job. So how, as supply chain managers, we can excel in our jobs is what I would like to discuss in this session, and how emotional intelligence plays a very crucial role. Let me share my presentation. It's already sharing. Okay. So Abdul, can you see my presentation?
I can see it. Yes. It is in the presentation, not it is in a normal PPT mode, not in the presentation.
Yeah. Okay. So this is the top title of this talk: Beyond Logistics: How Emotional Intelligence Powers the Supply Chain. Okay. So how many of you have already known about the various types of intelligences which American psychologist Howard Gardner has come up with? There are different kinds of intelligences. Linguistic, somebody who's very good at words. Probably Shakespeare is one who comes to our mind. And logical and mathematical intelligence. That's probably supply chain managers deal with algorithms and all of that. And when you think of logical and mathematical, who comes to your mind
Engineering.
first?
Yeah.
Sorry?
Engineering guys.
Engineering guys. Maybe the most first one that comes to our mind probably will be Einstein, right?
Yeah, sure,
And then
definitely.
somebody with musical intelligence who's very good with instruments. Recently, we lost one great musician,
Yeah.
Zakir Hussain, right? He
Correct,
has
correct.
very good musical intelligence. And then
Mhm.
there's spatial intelligence, somebody who's very good at visualizing spaces, who's very good at uh, designing, okay, architects, and probably also some engineers come into spatial
Mhm.
intelligence, artists, okay.
Mhm.
So, who would come into your mind when you think of spatial intelligence?
Oh,
Any good
somebody.
architects?
Yeah. There are so many.
So
But
many
how to?
architects.
Mhm.
Okay. For me, there's a person called Hafiz Contractor that comes to my mind. He's a very famous architect based in Bombay, right?
Correct, correct. Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay. And then this bodily and kinesthetic intelligence. This
Mhm.
many sportsmen have this intelligence, and somebody who comes to your mind,
Oh, the all gymnastics people, they're very
yeah,
smart in that.
Michael Phelps, American swimmer, right?
Yeah.
Recently, Neeraj Chopra, the world gold medalist in javelin throw. Like that,
Mhm.
there are various types of intelligences, but today we're going to focus on intrapersonal and interpersonal intelligence, which together make up emotional intelligence. So intrapersonal is somebody who's able to manage themselves well, able to manage their emotions well, that is, and who's self-aware, who knows himself very well, is intrapersonal intelligence. And someone who's very good at dealing with people, dealing and empathizing with people, who's able to manage teams successfully, has this interpersonal intelligence. So together, these two make up emotional intelligence. So now today we'll discuss more on emotional intelligence from a supply chain perspective. So I'll go to the next slide. So this is a typical supply chain, right?
Mhm.
I know from morning you've been discussing how you can excel at supply chain management and all of that. But this is a typical supply chain. The difference is that in today's world, raw materials come somewhere from Africa, maybe somewhere in Middle East, India, wherever. And the supplier, raw materials in Africa, supplier in Middle East, manufacturing happening in China or India, distribution happening via Central Europe, and then retail location is in US somewhere, and the customer is probably in a different location in the US or anywhere in the world. Unlike yesteryears, today supply chain has become very intricate and involves multiple geographies and a lot of complexity. That is
Correct.
why we say that even more important to have emotional intelligence, because we are dealing with people from different geographies, different mindsets, different ways of seeing the world, right? So
Mhm.
this, I'm sure many of you in the supply chain know this, right? The ship Ever Given, it blocked the Suez Canal in March 2021.
Mhm.
Does anyone know how much of economic loss was caused by this blockage? Does anyone
Oh, it's
remember?
a big one, but I don't remember the number, but it created a big havoc.
Havoc, yes. $60 billion was the loss, economic loss, because it was blocked for just about 10 days. Each day there was about a $6 billion loss, right? So now if I go back to this previous slide, when this ship was blocked, what could have been the emotional state of the raw material supplier, and then the manufacturer, the distributor, retail location, the customer? what would have been the emotional state of these people? Can you imagine? When there's so much of money at stake, about $60 billion in economic loss, imagine how it would have uh, disturbed everything, right? Can we all
Mhm.
imagine that? Right?
Correct.
What was the emotional state? People confused, supply chain managers not sure how to handle this, right? So
Correct.
this is why we said increased complexity, heightened uncertainty. We're seeing nowadays the Russia-Ukraine war one side, and you have regimes being changed, overthrown in the Middle East. In our own neighborhood, you see how things are shaping up in Bangladesh. The textile industry is going for a toss, and everything is haywire right now, right? And then evolving customer demands. I don't know if how it is in other locations, but in India, I can say right now you have companies like Zepto and all this Swiggy, Instamart delivering in 10, 15 minutes, they're promising. So imagine how much of pressure the supply chain is undergoing, right? And now, because of all of these complexities, it becomes even more important that as supply chain professionals and managers, we develop that emotional intelligence to handle this heightened uncertainty and increased complexity. We heard, did any of you hear this word called VUCA?
Yeah, yeah.
Volatility, complexity, uh,
Correct.
what is it? Uncertainty and ambiguity. I think
Mhm.
a supply chain in current world is apt for this word, right?
Correct.
Exactly suits the supply chain. So in this, given this changing scenario and dynamics, it is important that we all develop our emotional intelligence muscle to drive collaboration, resilience, and innovation across the network. It's even more important because it involves more than one organization, as we've seen in the earlier slide. Is everybody on board so far? Is it interesting? Are you are you thinking what's coming next, or you
Yeah,
thinking
yeah.
you're
Waiting, waiting.
looking forward to the end of the session?
Yeah, no, no, no. We're waiting
You're waiting
for
for the
next.
next session. Good, good. Thank you. Okay, I can't see the because I put my presentation mode. I
Yeah.
can't see how I'm in the WebEx window, and I can't see people who's online, who's responding on chat. I'll just take a
Mhm.
minute to see if anybody's sent any messages on chat.
Yeah. So we'll post you. Yeah.
It's all good, right? So I'm going to the next session. Next, okay. So now going to the next part of the session. See, and it's not just with emotional intelligence powers supply chains and you get better results. I think even statistics proves that emotionally intelligent supply chains, there's 75% increased agility, and there's 35% improved collaboration and 50% enhanced innovation. So numbers speak much louder than just words. This is the result of improved emotional intelligence in supply chains, and I've got this information from ChatGPT. Thanks to ChatGPT, I hope this is right. I think it will be right too.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, what is emotional intelligence? We're speaking so many times already. So far, I've said emotional intelligence, emotional intelligence. But what is it exactly? Very simple. It is the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others. Again, I repeat, our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves and for managing emotions within ourselves and in our relationships. Very
Mhm.
simple. Emotional intelligence is all about under recognizing our own feelings and those of others and managing our own emotions and those of others for improved relationships in our day-to-day work. Emotional intelligence, this describes abilities which are distinct but complementary to academic intelligence, which is IQ. We've all heard about IQ, but EQ probably very few would have heard about. So now, what is the difference between IQ and EQ? So IQ will get us the job, but EQ will help us succeed in the job. Okay. As I said, Emotional intelligence is the ability to use emotions to our advantage rather than becoming a victim of our emotions. Okay. So now I say book smart and heart smart. That's the difference. And IQ helps us get through school, whereas EQ gets us through life. Some misconceptions I want to clear at this stage, because many times people think emotional intelligence is it theoretical? Does it mean always being nice? Doesn't always mean being nice. It means confronting politely with facts. When you are in a situation where you have to confront somebody, you do that with facts and with politeness. That is the difference between being nice all the time, but also using EQ to confront politely. So it does not mean free rein to feelings. It means managing our feelings and expressing it appropriately and effectively, enabling people to work towards a common goal. When we go to the next slides, we'll understand with very practical tips as to how you can use emotional intelligence to be successful at work. So there's no distinction between men and women on EQ and EI. Both can be as intelligent. So again, it's not genetic. The good news is that you can develop this over time. Unlike IQ, which stabilizes at teenage, EQ develops over life. And for some people, it might be innate, but we can work on it and improve our EQ over time. That's the good news. So now, just four, because it's in a 1 hour session, I like to only speak about 4 steps of becoming an emotionally intelligent leader. The 4 steps are, as you can see on the slide, build self awareness. Like we said in the beginning, the ability to recognize our own emotions and become aware of how we are feeling. That is, build self awareness, practice self regulation, cultivate empathy is about how we are able to manage our emotions of others as a leader and a manager. And finally, foster motivation. One step by step, we'll see what each means.
Mhm.
Okay, build self awareness. Abdul, all okay?
Yeah, all good. Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. So now, have you seen such behaviors in the office? People suddenly walking out of the meeting, somebody kicking the wall after a failed presentation, a colleague throwing an object in frustration. Is it a common thing in supply chain?
Yeah,
It
throwing
happens.
mobile. Yeah.
Throwing mobile. Good. I think at least if somebody can catch it, it's good. Right? So now these are typical behaviors because we are not in control of our emotions, right? So now being unable to think clearly because of a strong emotional response. So now to understand emotions, basically what are emotions? They are the response of the body and mind to a stimuli, to something external event, right? That is emotion. So now what is the underlying thing for an emotion? They are our feelings, right? Basically, you first feel about something and then you demonstrate an emotion, right? So what are the basic feelings? Anger. These are the 4 basic feelings: anger, fear, sadness, and joy. Okay. So if you know at a certain situation, whether if you're angry or if you're afraid or if you're sad or joy, this might seem very simple actually, but actually speaking, not many people really admit. Supposing we ask them, "Are you angry?" They say, "No, no, no, I'm not angry." They deny. Doesn't that happen? You're not clear whether you're angry or whether you're sad or you're afraid. You don't even know that, right?
Mhm.
Supposing a manager says something in a customer call in front of the customer. Okay, your boss says something to us. He basically reprimands you in front of the customer.
Mhm.
Immediately, either you're angry or you are sad or also you're afraid of what could happen to my job. Mixed feelings, right? And what happens? We are ruminating till the next day, till the next call. How can the manager say this in front of everybody? He shouldn't have done that. So many times I gave the report on time. Everything was going all right till now. Once some mistake happened, and then he says in front of everybody. So this is called ruminating. After the event is over, we are keeping on ruminating, being in that feeling of either anger, sad, or fear. That is a draining emotion, right? So as long as you're ruminating and being in that draining emotion, you're only going to make things worse for us. Each minute, you're only getting into that loop. So what do we do at this stage? Right? This you'll see in this one. If you can see this slide here, in the center of the circle, you see sad, mad, scared. Sad means you're sad, mad is angry, and for scared is fear. And for joy, you have peaceful, powerful, and joyful. The sooner you get out of that rumination and come into a more empowering emotion, right? So when you're sad, if you see in the circle here, either you're sad, you're ashamed because your manager said something to you, so you feel stupid, you feel inferior. And then you feel, if you are angry, you're actually, if you feel frustrated, you feel irritated, you feel critical of your manager. And if you're scared, you are only helpless. So you're feeling embarrassed, overwhelmed, and discouraged. These are all the top half of the circle is all draining emotions.
Mhm.
But if you distract yourself to put yourself into a empowering emotion. Like for example, a lot of people use good distractions. Immediately after this call, you look at your table. If you have some of your kids' photo or your favorite holidays photo, that's a good distraction for some people.
Correct.
Some people said, okay, let me go for a walk now. At least you're aware of your feeling, and you say, I'm not going to be in this state of emotion for a longer time. Let me go for a walk and try to forget this. Move out of that draining emotion to an empowering emotion. So you find everybody of us have to find a distraction which will actually move us away from the draining emotion to an empowering emotion. Can some of you share what your favorite distractions are?
Oh, so this is more on, yep. So the
Yeah.
angry
So
part, yeah. Hmm.
right.
So we
So
take a walk, yeah. Hmm.
exactly. Somebody takes a walk, somebody does meditation, or somebody does heavy, breathing exercise.
Yeah.
Or for some people, it is listening to some favorite music, A.R. Rahman, or maybe Brian Adams. For me, it's Brian Adams. I
Mhm.
like A.R. Rahman and Brian Adams music. When I hear and I listen to that music, I try to move away from that draining emotion. And if you see here, if you now go into the joyful emotion, for example, you become creative. Then you start thinking about, how can I repair this? Is there some truth in what my manager said? Right? So
Mhm.
you become more creative if you see here.
Mhm.
Okay, you become optimistic. And then when you're in a powerful, you move yourself to a powerful emotion. Okay, you are more aware of the situation. You're thinking confidently. Okay, you are responsive. You're finding a good response to give to your manager, which will only improve the situation rather than being in a draining emotion where you're finding faults, you're depressed, you're hostile, right? So that is what it is to become aware of ourselves. Most of the time, a lot of people, even though we are in our senior positions, we are not able to control and manage. Not, I won't say control, manage our feelings. Okay. So I'll just play a small video,
Mhm.
and this should be a lesson for life. If some of you have seen it, it's good. But otherwise, this will help us be balanced.
Mhm. Sure.
Is the audio there?
Yeah,
You have a. Can you hear the audio of the video?
yeah, we can hear.
You can hear. Thanks. Do you have a problem in your life? If the answer is no, then why worry? If the answer is yes, is there anything you can do about it? If no,
Then why worry? If yes, then why worry? Worrying won't stop the bad stuff from happening. It just stops you from enjoying the good.
Super.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I
please share this.
think this is what.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Please share this video. Can we get it in YouTube or
Sure.
something?
Then.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll share it. I'll share it to you. Okay.
fantastic. Yeah.
Okay. So this is good. I think the basis for emotional intelligence that whenever something happens, especially in supply chain environment, many things are unpredictable. So if you always keep this in your mind and say, "Is there something I can do about it?" Yes, then why worry? If I can't do something about it, then why worry? Just submit ourselves to it and try to find a solution. Fall back on your managers, fall back on your teams, and then you'll move forward, right? So good. So now again, I want to play one quick. I'll play one quick video. I think it's we have only half 30 minutes. I'll play this at the end if there is time. Okay, about how we have. I mean, how we can learn to manage ourselves. Okay. So the next step is practice self-regulation. Good Srinivas, you told us what are the various feelings, what are the various emotions, but how can I practice regulating? How can I practice self-regulation? So the next slides we'll discuss that. I think the first and foremost for I mean attitude, positive attitude is the first and foremost quality to have to be able to self-regulate ourselves. Okay. So what is attitude? Attitude is a settle meaning it is now ingrained in your self. That based on your past experiences, your beliefs, you develop a certain attitude towards certain things. I think if we can change that to positive attitude, you'll see a lot of difference in the way we see things around. So basically, like I said in this slide, men are disturbed not by things but by the view they take of them. Okay, if some event happens in a supply chain, if you're only constantly negatively thinking about it, you're only going to get into that spiral of draining emotions. If you're positive, it's going to be you're going to start thinking about solutions. Okay. Now, in emotional intelligence, we call it right side processing and left side processing. So, in any given situation, if you're in teams, if people are thinking negatively, in talking negatively, you use the word, friends, come on, let's stop left side processing. It's not this left brain and right brain thinking. We coined this term called right side processing and left side processing, which means that right side processing is positive thinking, the left side processing is negative thinking. So I'll play a small video about two seeds which are in the same environment, same place they are planted. Everything is the same, but see how the attitude makes a difference.
Fantastic.
So this is not some great story that we are hearing it for the first time. But in office, in our work environments, in team discussions, in our thought process, are we doing right side processing or are we doing left side processing? Will depend on how much intelligence, emotional intelligence we are displaying at the workplace. Okay. Like I said, developing a positive attitude from today, from now on, going forward, whenever you're having team discussions, always oriented towards right side processing and use these terms in your office environment. If somebody is speaking negatively, come on, stop it. Yeah, stop it. Let's stop it. Let's go right side processing. Let's do right side processing. So when slowly over a period of time, everybody starts use these words, right side processing and left side processing, everybody will start to build an atmosphere of positivity. See, very metaphorically, if you see the next slide, knowledge and hard work. If A to Z equals 1 to 26, knowledge comes to 96, hard work 98. And metaphorically, if you see, attitude is the one which comes to 100 percentage. I mean, enormous knowledge and extreme hard work still fall short by 2 and 4 percentage. So attitude is what makes the difference as we grow up in our careers, and especially in a supply chain environment which is prone to uncertainties. Developing this positive attitude will help us. Okay, I know this is not something out of the world, some rocket science that I'm talking about, but if we start to implement these things, there's going to be a enormous difference in our workplace. Okay, so now we spoke about self-awareness and managing our own emotions, which is building self-awareness and practicing self-regulation. So this is about managing our own emotions. So what is the learning from today onwards? So whenever we are in a very stressful situation, we first become aware of what our feelings are, what emotions we are going through. If it is a draining emotion, we make the conscious attempt to move from a draining emotional state to empowering emotional state, like in this slide showed here. That's the first step. Second step is to start thinking positively. And when you are thinking positively and when you are in a positive state of mind, which is this part, you are more creative, you are more trying to find solutions rather than being in a complaining mode. So this is what we learned so far. Is this something implementable in our day-to-day work from going forward?
I think yes. So this is very interesting slide. Okay, so when you have something in sad or mad or scared, so so you are saying that use a distraction to go the bottom half of the circle. Okay, so find what is
Exactly.
suitable. Okay, so that completely
Yes.
change the direction of thinking process. Yeah, that makes
Absolutely.
big sense.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you, Abdul. I think the half an hour we spent so far is it gave a return. I'm happy about it that somebody is picking up these small things, right? And why worry? That video also always keep in mind that if there is nothing that we can do about it, why do we even worry? If there is something to do about it, then let's again, like we said, use distraction to come into an empowering state of emotional state and start to find solutions. Because the mind only works creatively when we are in a positive state of mind and a positive emotional state. Okay, so shall I go move forward?
Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So now the third step is to cultivate empathy, which is as a leaders to manage the emotions of others, basically our team members, our other stakeholders like suppliers and distributors, manufacturers, whoever that is. Okay, so this is we call it public mastery. which is to sense what people are feeling and are able to take their perspective and cultivate rapport with a broad diversity of people. Now, how do we develop this public mastery? There are small, techniques. We call it the Lua model. What is it? Listen, understand, and act. This is called the Lua model in short. See, most of the time, whether we agree or not, when somebody is speaking with us, somebody on a call, even before they complete,
Mhm.
we are trying to frame our response. How do we give back to them? How do we, if he's questioning you, then how do we, get back to them? How do we rebut them? So our mind is not even listening with a rapt attention. We are only partially listening. So now, from today, if we are not already doing this, let us start to listen fully with rapt attention what the other person is saying. Try to empathize with them. Be patient. There's no hurry. See, when you're thinking fast, right? Even our words will be very fast. We'll speak very fast. So let us build this habit of thinking slowly and responding. I mean, not to say that when there is an emergency that you speak slowly, but in general, if we build this habit of speaking slowly after listening, listen to the tone of the person, because there's a lot of there might be a big message in the tone sometimes. Listen to the ideas, observe the body language. They may not say it in enough words, but the body language can be a big message. So listen to all of these things, and without reacting, we respond after listening to them fully, understanding their point of view, giving benefit of doubt. If we start doing this, then we'll start to empathize with people and are able to build better relationships. Going forward, however senior we might be, if we are not following the Lua model, let us start following it from today. It's very simple. As I said, this is not rocket science, but the trick is in implementing these solutions and following them. Okay, so reacting versus responding. I'll quickly play a small video by a person called Gaur Gopal Das.
Mhm.
Let's see.
He's famous. Yeah.
Yeah, he's famous.
There is a concept called sledging in cricket, where the opponent team comes and gives Gali to the batsman. Gali, they try to distract them and take their focus away. One thing that Sachin is adored for in the history of cricket is sledging hasn't bothered him. This man is cool. Are you cool? When people do sledging against you in the game of life, are you cool? Or you lose your cool? There will always be people who are out of control. Can you stop a guy from criticizing you? Can you stop an opponent team from sledging? कुछ नहीं कर सकते. It's called things which are out of our control. People are out of our control sometimes. One lady had a fight with the husband. और झगड़ा हो गया पति पत्नी में, तो उसने अपनी माँ को फोन किया, मम्मी मम्मी मैं नहीं रह सकती इधर, ये बहुत हो गया, मैं झगड़ा हो गया, अभी मैं 2 हफ्ते के लिए आपके पास आ रही हूँ मैं मम्मी. तो उसकी माँ बोली नहीं नहीं बेटा, उसको उसके कर्मों का फल भुगतना चाहिए, तो तू उधर ही रुक, मैं 2 महीने के लिए आती हूँ उधर, मैं दिखाती हूँ उसको, तू उधर ही रहे. Are situations in your control many times? No. The guy who was batting was expecting an in-swing ball, and that's what the bowler bowled. And one gush of wind, an in-swing becomes an outswing, and it's caught out. A lot of things, situations, people are just out of our control. How many of you think question paper is in your control? And when things go wild, I'll tell you what happens with us. This is what happens with us. You know? This is what happens with us. See how it forms up? We react. The stimulus of a person sledging against us, criticizing, pulling us down, envious of us, conspiring, politicking, makes us react and foam out. We start reacting also. And look at this. This is also sealed.
Mhm.
The question is, do you want to be a 7-Up can or a Oxycool bottle of water? And I'm sure a lot of us would say, Prabhuji, दूसरा कुछ सोचता ही नहीं है प्रभुजी. And thus, in our life, we will always have a stimulus and we can choose to respond, because between the stimulus and response is our choice. A great personality is not born in the maternity ward. A great personality is born by the choices that one makes. And therefore, when there are all kinds of stimuli, we have to learn how to respond. If we are not strong spiritually, it is impossible. If we are not strong culturally, it is impossible. All this sounds great and good, and we know, yes, I want to do it. I can't be a can of soda. I want to be a water bottle. But is it so easy? No. That is why coming here is so important. That is why these foundational ethics of spirituality are so crucial in this age. As all of you are going to be successful in your own areas of life, if not cricket per se. And thus, we have to learn how to respond. Therefore, my Guru Radhanath Maharaj, he says, don't ask the question why. Why did this happen to me? Ask the question how. How should I deal with it? Learn this master stroke. Not to react, to respond.
Right? So
Fantastic.
react versus respond. So many times people say, he said this to me and that's why I'm disturbed. But if you're disturbed by somebody saying something, that means our remote is with them. They are able to play our remote the way they want us to behave. So I think it's all about how we are in control of ourselves. And in this case, how do we respond to certain situations if it is stressful? Instead of asking, why did this happen to me? How do I deal with this situation? So by using this technique of responding instead of reacting, we are able to have better relationships with people. We're able to empathize with them and understand from their point of view. And next concept is something called automatic stories. We are all victims of this. For example, in this case, in a supply chain scenario, you were expecting a truck to come by say 12 noon, 12:30, but the truck doesn't come. So immediately, what comes to our mind? See, the supplier, he faulted. He did not come on time. Maybe he's stuck somewhere. He doesn't plan properly. And then what happens? Some team member listens to that. Now they are developing their automatic story. See, the supplier is all, they're all speaking in the office. The supplier again is delayed. Now what will happen to our customers? We're going to get a lot of customer calls now, and then going into that negative spiral. And once your head of the department walks that way, he overhears this, and then he says, maybe it's time to terminate the contract with this supplier. See, one event happened, you said something, and then you built your own automatic story, and then your team built on top of that, and finally it came to a stage where you're saying, let's terminate the contract. But what was the reality? The reality was that the truck arrived on time, but because he was a new driver, he went to the wrong gate. And because he went to the wrong gate, the security there didn't know this. He sent the truck to the head office. He asked him to go to the head office. But what could have stopped this entire building of automatic stories? One simple phone call to that person saying, your truck didn't arrive on time. Did you do that? No. This may be a very small example, but this is what happens in our lives, that the real incident might be very small, but because we build these automatic stories, our relationships with people are breaking down. So I think in a supply chain scenario, it's even more important that we shed our egos. We don't think of our levels and simply make that quick call to ask, see, brother, your truck hasn't arrived. So one call could have solved that, right? So like that, see in this picture here, how do we, now when we see this picture here, simply we assume something, right? We make up our own stories. And then many times when we say a tall, dark man came to the door, a tall, dark man meaning negative, maybe a villain, right? So we have those biases. So all of that biases we remove and we start empathizing with people, give benefit of doubt. And when you build this empathy, you will see that relationship with suppliers and everybody is improving. Okay, that is emotional intelligence. So now this is what it is: practicing empathy, state our perception of the person's feeling, offer support and partnership. Okay, this is empathy. Now, what did we learn in this third concept, which is about cultivate empathy?
Yeah. Mhm. A simple call. I think
What
it's
is
nothing to. It is applicable everywhere, even in
right?
the office, in the family members, in the friends. Okay. So sometimes you build your own stories where the fact might be
Correct.
something different. So a simple call or simple gesture of understanding will solve the major problem. Yeah, that is so true.
Absolutely, absolutely. Many times you will see that the real issue was so small, but these automatic stories build up so much that we actually find new problems. We create new problems. So instead of any assumptions, we simply close things, close whatever it is, close the loop very quickly. Yeah. So, did you hear about? Do you remember the Lua model? So, going forward, when we speak with people, when we are in discussion in office, in meetings, or in calls with suppliers, manufacturers, distributors, we are not in a hurry to frame our response. We are full attention, listening to the person speaking, understanding, listening to his tone, listening to his body language, listening to the ideas, and then responding rather than reacting. Reacting means your remote is with the other person. Responding is you have the remote, you choose how we respond. Okay. So these are all very implementable small techniques. Right. Okay. So now I mean, for today, because it's a 1 hour session, I had to put only these four concepts. So this is something called foster motivation within our team members. What does this mean? We make the goals and objectives very clear to our team members. When the goal and objectives are clear, especially in a supply chain, you tell them what is expected, what are the outcomes expected, can inspire teams in spite of stressful situations, stressful environment. So I can think of a good example, most recent one. The CEO of LinkedIn, Ryan, he spoke with a person called Nandan Nilekani. People in India might know if somebody is from abroad. Nandan was responsible for creating unique IDs for 600 million Indians. It's not a small number. In I think 2 to 3 years, I think the entire project was implemented. So Ryan asked, "How were you able to achieve this by bringing bureaucrats and technocrats who have totally different work styles? How were you able to make them come together and achieve this feat?" Right? So he says, "I made the goal very clear. I told them that we do not have any other option than to issue 600 million ID cards to Indians." And he said that goal itself was so huge that people were totally lost in this work, that they continued to be motivated and succeed. So I think if you follow these four steps, especially in a supply chain environment, for example, nowadays this 10-minute goal is automatically going, that Zepto has this 10-minute delivery. That goal itself will make people work because they know that they have to deliver in 10 minutes, right? So however stressful it is, So they all will align with the objectives and goals of the company, and they will work well. So that clarity, I will say, is foster motivation. So finally, this is the summary of emotional intelligence in 1 hour. Yourself is here. Identify your emotions, manage your emotions. Identify others' emotions, manage their emotions with empathy. Okay, and without automatic stories, without negative attitude, and then you will see that our emotional intelligence is improving day over day. So, and then what does this result in? This results in enhanced team collaboration, obviously, better conflict resolution. You see that your supply relationships are better, and then there is better stress management. Isn't this what we want in our day to
Yeah.
day work life? Is this what we want? And all this is possible with emotional intelligence. Of course, your algorithms and all of that, planning and all of that is logistics separate, but definitely emotional intelligence is going to make it as easy for us. So, beyond logistics, emotional intelligence serves as a hidden powerhouse in optimizing the supply chain, a domain often dominated by numbers, systems, and efficiency metrics. Like I said, a doctor who wants to build a hospital, an engineer who wants to build a commercial tower, everybody is dependent on supply chain. And if supply chain is smooth and efficient, country becomes efficient and the world becomes efficient. So with that, I stop here for any questions. And if there is time, I'll play one last video if there are no questions.
We do have time. Can you just repeat that circle of influence? So the top half and bottom half. I think that is a key takeaway for everybody, every one of us. Yeah.
Yes. So this is again how we manage ourselves. I'll play that video on how we. Everybody thinks it's very easy, right? So
Mhm.
Sadhguru speaks about how it is all in us, basically. Shall I play that video?
Yeah, sure.
Short video.
Someone just 3 days ago, they came and asked me, Sadhguru, my job is too much tension, I can't bear it. So I blessed him, may you be fired. He said, no, no, Sadhguru. I said, what? What's the problem? If you have a job, you're suffering it. If you lose your job, you suffer it. So you better look at it. This is not about the job. Right now, we need to understand this. Your tension, your stressfulness has nothing to do with the job or the work or the business situation that you're conducting. It is your inability to manage your own mind, your body, your chemistry, your energies. You're not able to manage this human mechanism. Because there is friction within, every job seems to be stressful. You just look at the world, any kind of job people are complaining they're stressful, isn't it? See, if people are poor, they suffer poverty. You make them rich, they suffer taxes. If they're not educated, they suffer that. Put them to school, endless suffering. If they're not married, they suffer that. Get them married, I won't say anything. So this is not because there is something wrong with your life situation. Your inability to manage this. If you know how to manage this, I'm saying, have you invested any time as to how to manage this one? If your mind took instructions from you, would you create stress or bliss? If your mind took instructions from you, would you create stress or bliss? Definitely bliss. So obviously your mind is not taking instructions from you. People come to me like this, any number of people. Somebody comes and says, oh, my boss is horrible, I can't bear it. My wife, she is terrible. My husband is unbearable. My mother-in-law, impossible. So I say, you come, don't worry. You come with me, you stay with me. Your husband, wife, boss, mother-in-law, nobody will enter this place. I will give you a nice place to stay. good food to eat, nothing to do. You just have to be joyful, that's all. Once in a way, at random, I will check you, and you must be joyful. If you're miserable, I don't believe in feeding misery. But you will see within 24 hours in how many ways they twist themselves if they're alone. See, if you're alone and you're miserable, obviously you're in bad company, isn't it?
Okay. So this is what it is. It's all within us as to how we are able to manage our emotions ourselves. So the end of the talk. I hope you all enjoyed it, and I look forward to
It's
another
really a
opportunity.
truly enjoyable session. It's a truly enjoyable
Thank
session,
you. Thank you.
Srinivas. Yeah, this
Thank
is
you.
really, I think we need to have this. So it's a more often. So it's a full day program kind of thing, Srinivas. The full
Yes,
timing.
it's a full day program. I tried to make it condense it to 1 hour because that's what we have, right? The time. So in a full
Mhm.
day workshop, we do some role plays. We dwell with real situations in life, and then people sometimes even open up. They even shed tears. They're going back into their
Yeah, they have
lives.
to. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm. Mhm. Very interesting. Very interesting,
okay.
Srinivas. Really, really, this is really good one, and it's a relief to attend the session after a long time, after
Yeah,
the whole day. So it's really relieving
yeah.
lecture. So, and you said it very nicely. Thank you,
Thank you.
Srinivas.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. And
Thank you.
it's an
Thank you,
excellent,
everyone. So
session.
I'll use the 2 minutes to talk about Nipuna. We help companies bridge their skill gaps and thereby realize their business goals. And companies outsource their training divisions to us to focus on their core competencies, core activities. So we take care of their entire training division. And a company recent, I think I'll say success story is a company wanted to transform their subject matter experts to architects. We did a program for them, and I think they're reducing their architect hiring cost by 50%. So we did a
Mhm.
strategic blend of soft skills and technical skills. So, and
Mhm.
even as I said last time, Abdul, we are also doing programs for American clients, UAE, all of that.
Mhm.
So we are this time we set a goal
How
of
many?
working with 25. Sorry.
So is it like how many days courses you run it? Like maybe.
We have various levels of courses for soft skills, for an individual contributor, for an aspiring team leader,
Mhm.
for an leader who's already in management for about 10 plus years, and then a seasoned leader. So each one is like we believe that this learning has to happen as a journey across 3 to 6 months, because 3 days program and then finish it off, it's not going to stick. They're not going to
Correct.
internalize the concept, right?
Right,
So
right.
we do it over a period of 3 to 6 months, and
On a
six
weekly
days to
basis.
12.
Acha,
Yeah,
weekly,
fortnightly once. Fortnightly
fortnightly
once.
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 Okay. Mhm.
Yeah.
Let me talk to you.
And we've
Yeah,
seen
let me
people
talk to you.
transform totally after 3 months, actually.
Let me talk to you on this. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. Yeah. If there are any other questions, we have 1 minute more before we can close.
I think we are very happy to host you, Srinivas. I think it's really a great session.